Hello, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this very special Insta Live session with GLNR Sports. My name is Daniel Wheeler, and thank you so much for joining us. Today, we have the pleasure of talking to Craig Butler. He's the founder and CEO of Phoenix Academy Football Club, and as well, you might know him as the manager and father of Jamaican international football player Leon Bailey. We're delighted to have with him to discuss many issues involving the Jamaica Football Federation and football in Jamaica, determining where does the program go from here, and of course in terms of youth development and prospects for the 2020 FIFA World Cup. Hello, Mr. Butler.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, can you? I'm not sure if I'm hearing you.
Can you hear me? I call my technical team here. Dante, oh, what's this one?
Hold on for a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Yes, I'm hearing you now, Craig. Thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Yeah,
No
we
problem.
can hear you.
Okay, excellent. Well, first of all, the first thing I wanted to ask you, how are you doing? I know that you, as well as everybody else, have not been immune to the effects of COVID-19, and I just want to know, from your perspective, how you've been handling things from your end.
Well, it's been tough for everyone, of course, but I've been healthy. Having a family spread across countries is never going to be easy, and we're doing okay. Leon is in Germany. Travis is there with him. We have, I believe, Kyle is in Jamaica, and we're just doing our best to cope. You know, we have continued our training actually at Phoenix. We didn't stop, but we adapted, and we trained. We trained with 8 players, you know, as is mandated, plus the masks and the distance, and just kept the technical training and Instagram for those who come. So we've been okay.
Definitely good to hear, Craig. Now, obviously, you know, when you speak and when you give in your views in terms of, you know, football in Jamaica, there are some persons that, you know, seen you as quite a quote unquote controversial figure, but I don't think there's a lot of persons that know about you and your background in football. So to just start things off, just want you to give, you know, a brief introduction about yourself and how you got into football, you know, as a player, and your journey into coaching.
Well, football, I started in prep school at Peter and Paul Prep under Digalagi, and played prep school football, was successful there, and then we moved to playing, played for Jamaica College, Manning Cup, Coles Pepsi Manning. Played for Medhaven under David Hunt, as the captain of his first under-17 team that won minor league. And I went also into Major League and Premier League with Swallowfield and Santos. Swallowfield was under Mark Mendel with all the top players at the time in Jamaica, because Mark Mendel was the first person, really, to my recollection, that actually decided to do a professional league and to pay players, you know. So he had players like Peter Cargill, Anthony Carbett, Howard Cephas, Dominic Spalding, Dion Wilmot, Everald Petty, David Burgess, Richie Cook, and Richard Potcover and McDonald and myself were the only 2 high school age players that were playing. And so I learned a lot from Mark. You know, he's still on my wall over there of fame in my office. Always honored my coaches, honored my, Jimmy Sinclair from Jamaica College as well, who played a pivotal role in my football and in the emotional, caring side of me as a coach, because I took different things from different coaches, you know. Mm-hmm. Bradley Stewart coached me in my last year of Manning Cup when Jimmy migrated. And from Bradley, you got the tough love, you know, because Bradley is the type of guy who will tell you like it is every single time and push you to the limit. So, yeah, that was a lot of football in Jamaica for me. Then I went away to university as a 3-year All-American, played college ball, played at Pace University, then in Salem, Massachusetts. And then after that, I continued playing with the Fort Lauderdale Lions and Fort Lauderdale Strikers at one point. Got a knee injury, really bad one. And I was never the same. I was only at about 80% of what I could have done. But loved football and continued to play. And moved back to Jamaica. And with my young sons, and a lot of people don't know the history as to why Phoenix was started. I was a bad boy when I was younger. Very promiscuous. You know, my dad wasn't around, and you're a big football, and you know, you have girls there every day and no guidance. So you ended up doing a lot of things at that time, you know, and you ended up with kids, you know. And my first son was actually taken away and hidden in the US for a long time by his mother, and I couldn't see him. So when I did get my second son, Kyle, I decided I was going to be there for him and guide his football process, because he, you know, it was a funny thing. He came to me one day as a 5-year-old, believe it or not, and said, "Daddy, I want to play football." So, you know, like every other parent who is in business at the time, doing their thing, I said, "Well, going to school, you can play there at Stella Maris." He said, "No, Daddy. If I play football at Stella Maris, I only get to train for 2 hours a week. And if I want to be as good as Ronaldinho, who was a star then, I have to train every day." So I said, "So what you want me to do, youth?" He said, "No, man, I want you to coach me." I started coaching him at Chartwood. And next thing I knew, we had, you know, kids just coming out of the woodwork everywhere. You know, Leon came, Sharky came, and, you know, Travis came, and all with different stories, and ended up adopting all of them because life was so hard for them at the time. And you know, having not grown up with my dad myself, I wanted to at least help in some way that I could, and worse, losing my first son. So I did my best, you know, and we're doing our thing. I think people don't know this, but when I went into to corporate, you know, I'd been in the technology industry and training, and we were the first really to come up with the adopter player program while I was the GM for Toshiba, and we sponsored the national team from 1994 through 1997 and 98. I mean, that's one of the main reasons that made it to the World Cup. A lot of the players, I remember having played with Peter Cargill at Swallowfield, and then, you know, you have national team players, and those national team players have to be begging for bus fare to go home. You know, it really, you never really get the vibe that these people were actually valued, because they weren't making any money out of the football. So I came up there with the adopter player program, and I adopted Peter Cargill in my business, paid him a salary, and tried to utilize him in all my marketing and everything that we're doing, because they weren't getting any money out of the football. So I came up there with the adopter player program.
Oh, sorry, can you hear me?
Peter Cargill in my business, paid him a salary.
Oh, sorry. For some reason, I'm not hearing you properly.
I don't know. I'm hearing myself.
Yeah. It's better now.
All right.
Yeah.
So when we got the national team going, and I encouraged other friends that I had at the time at Dial and Courts and things like that, and they also adopted players and paid them a salary, and we sponsored the national team. And from then I wanted to see Jamaica advance, because I really believe that Jamaica, I still believe, you know, that we can win a World Cup, man. And after traveling all over Europe and realizing that there's not much difference between them and us in terms of ability, it's just our discipline, the technique, the technical training, the professionalism, and I brought that into play. So yeah, that was my football background still.
Okay. Well, one of the things I wanted to discuss with you in terms of, because you've talked about, you know, you as a footballer and that growth and wanting to see Jamaica perform well and win a World Cup, and also your journey into coaching and trying to cultivate talent. Can you just give a little bit in your mind in terms of your philosophy at Phoenix? Because I don't think there's a lot of person, because obviously, you've talked much about in terms of what the youth program needs to do and in terms of the JFF, but there's not a lot of persons, that understand what your philosophy and your type of play in terms of what you do at Phoenix. Could you just expound on that?
Well, Phoenix, the first thing that we have to do is to ensure that all players are technically competent. A lot of people speak about this thing where you say that you're naturally skilled. There's no such thing as being naturally skilled. It's what you learn. So if you learn this playing on the streets, or you learn in an environment that develops both sides, both left and right side oriented, and the technical aspects of it, you have to have competent. What you do is you focus now on what would be the best system for your players. Are you following me? Spanish players are not fast.
Yeah. Continue.
They're quick.
Yeah.
Quick but not fast. Yeah, the German players are strong. Yeah, but again, not fast. We Jamaicans are fast. We're tenacious. We're strong. I mean, just look at my history and with my fights, and you realize how tenacious a Jamaican can be.
Mm-hmm.
But we when you look at what we need to do is we need to play a system that employs mostly wing play and attack, right, with a strong target forward. And then from there, you utilize build up. You don't kick out the ball. You don't kick away the ball. You build through a system. You have a good defensive midfielder with an attacking midfielder that his clear vision is to send the through passes through to the wingers, and the wingers should be taking on people and playing a very high pressed game. Why high pressed? Because we're faster than everybody else in the world. So faster also means that our reaction time over 2 feet will be quicker than anybody else. So if we press as a unit in groups, say for instance 2 or 3 people to the opponent in an opponent's wing back, so for example, the chance of him getting out of that back line is going to be very difficult. And we're being faster. If we're fit and faster, we can shift the line very easily and play through the line. So Phoenix itself plays like that. We've developed some really, really top talents. Leon wasn't the only one. He is probably the one that took to the training the most. We also have, the Kyle, the Kemar Reed, the Kevon Atkins, who is a consummate number 9. Travis Blagrove, who is a central defender that does not kick away the ball. Big, strong guy, but plays simple. Sean Laws came out to the Phoenix Academy. Romario Williams came out to the Phoenix Academy. Martin Davis. A lot of players people don't know. Jason Wright came out to the Phoenix Academy. So the reality
and Romario Williams, that would be Romario Williams that now plays at the USL, I think. Is it Romario Williams? Yes.
Yeah. But he was he had done well. He went to USF, and then he went on to play in the
MLS.
MLS, yeah. So that's just some of the players. We have many. We currently have around 23 to 30 players actually all over Europe. We have young players also going. And in Jamaica now, this new crop, which is why I'm so excited, is just as good, if not better than the first crop. Having learned from the guinea pig, so to speak, having all the skill sets, having all the disciplinary behaviors and the training acumen, and training properly over this period of time. This new crop has developed players like Dejon Richards. He top scored the Pepsi League, shattered the Pepsi under 14 league. Daniel Scarlett, the MVP of prep school and primary school. We have players like Dante Peralta, who for the first time in 17 years, St. George's College won Pepsi, and he scored in the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals for them as a striker. while at Phoenix, he really plays central defender. You know, so we have wingers coming out of the yin yang. I mean, the talent is there. The question is, are we going to allow that talent to fall to the wayside the way the first line of Phoenix did? Because Leon was the only player that could have and should have been in the national team. There were players who were really, really talented, but having come out of Phoenix and the feud with JFF, I guess they only took the ones that could not be hidden, and that was Leon. You know, Leon. The rest of them are good talents and should have been given a chance, but they, you know,
in relation to the talent, not just in terms of from your camp, are there any young players that you see aside from Phoenix that you see definitely has a chance to make it at that next level?
Yes, there are so many young players that are good, but the completeness of their preparation has affected their trajectory. So, for example, you see Alex Marshall, very, very talented young kid, but his development was flawed in that his right foot was not properly developed. So when he went on to trials in Europe or so on, he could play on the left side. Even Maggie is now in Belgium, but he's still having a challenge breaking into the first team in European. Why? Because he's left side oriented only. So he can't necessarily dribble down the right wing and cross with the right foot. So you become predictable. And when players become predictable, you can actually, they watch, football is very technical, you know, at the professional level. They watch a video of you, they see exactly what you do, and they plan. Let me give you an example. Leon in Belgium, from some of his first few games in the Premier League, he went down the left side first and dip and cut, shoot to the far post, and score. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Anderlecht watched the tape. So what Anderlecht did was the next game, they put two players blocking the left side, forcing
in terms of scouting
in. Yeah, they're forcing in on the right side, right? And when he was forced in on the right side, he shot with the right foot straight up in the pigeon from 20 yards out. So with a player, once you develop like that, it's going to be very difficult for them to stop you. Yeah? Very difficult for them to stop you. So that's one of the things you have to do.
Okay. It seems to me that, you know, obviously that there's work to do in terms of for the youth program. I want to get your thoughts in terms of, do you think that the schoolboy football system, one, does it still have a role to play in developing the football, developing young footballers? If so, what does it need to change? And if not, what needs to be replaced? Because obviously there's a lot of talk about, you know, make sure there are academies. But in the setup that we are now, do you think that there is still a role to play for schoolboy football for young players?
Well, I'm a Jamaica college old boy. I love my school, yeah, and I bleed blood for JC. However, I didn't allow my two sons to play for JC when they were here. I'd just come back from Europe at the top of their game. And the fact is, schoolboy football, they only train for maybe 3 months out of the year. So there's no development, there's just competition. So it's like a Premier League team, yeah, with players that are complete. Like you buy your players and you bring them in and you're competing to win. This doesn't help a developing player, because when a coach is preparing a team to win versus guiding or teaching a player how to play, it's two totally different things. Yeah, because for example, if a player is weak on his left side, yeah, and he scores in prep school 52 goals, and he cuts off his right every time and shoots with his left, the coach will clap, the parents will scream, they will cheer, JC will rail up, KC will say 40s, and at the end of the day, when football is done and his high school career is done, he can't make it as a pro. If they wanted to continue, what would be important is that they train all year round. Yeah? With a developmental phase and allow for the competition. Yeah? And they would have to allow the better players to leave by 16, 17 maximum, to go to Europe and to play and train there. Because the adaptation of an 18-year-old going on trial. I remember Junior Fleming going on trial. So many players went on trial, on a 2-week trial in a foreign country, speaking a foreign language with freezing cold for the first time. You're not going to make it. When we first went to Europe, the boys were 12, 13, and 15. And we came off the train and we went straight to a club called Red Bull Salzburg. I videotaped it. We were freezing. When they said, okay, we'll give you a chance to train, and the boys trained, they were horrible. Kids who were a year younger were just running around them because they couldn't move. 3 months later, Leon scored 75 goals in the same under-15 league in 15 games, and Kyle had 99 assists. Scores that when I tell people, they say, oh, foolish this, or he's making up stories. Well, Leon just said it for himself the other day in his life, you know, and he did it. So the adaptation is important. So what you need to do is to train year-round and treat the development of the player as a professional footballer in a real and serious way. A lot of what people keep saying, Wheeler, is that they love to say that we're an institution. We're not focusing on what do you call it? What's the word they always use? Extracurricular activities. Yeah. And the reality is, I don't see any teachers making as much money as Leon Bailey does right now. And football is one of the highest paid sports in the world, and sports is the highest paid occupation. That's legal. Yeah. So why not support the kid with his academics if he chooses to seek to be a professional player? We should not dissuade them and not give them that training and focus that they need. Not just in football, but in life. You know, public speaking, image projection, all of those things.
Okay. Just want to switch gears for just a little bit. You know, obviously COVID has really has stalled not just international sports, but locally as well. And as we're trying to imagine a world post that, I just want to see what do you see in terms of the state of football after COVID?
Well, after COVID, I think that we will adapt. I think that Germany is a little jump ahead, which is good, and it's leading the way. We cannot not survive. We cannot not continue to play. I think that we, as a country, Jamaica itself would have fared better than others. But the world will return to football. I think the transfer prices may go down a little bit for a little while. But football, the beautiful game, will always survive. It's from a football perspective, you know. But, yeah. But for people, I think this COVID-19, as much as it brought a lot of illnesses and world chaos, it taught us the value of family again. It taught us the value our life that we have and the friends that we have. And for me, I mean, I find myself playing Ludo with my daughter-in-law and my daughter and my family and my wife and thing. And when I was too busy before, working constantly on the phone and doing business, you know, I think people realize that there's a time and a place for everything more, and to trust God and to have more faith in God. We really have thrown God out of we need to bring him back in.
Do you think, in terms, specifically for Jamaica, do you think that this is an opportunity, specifically whether and it's football, the main course of our conversation? Do you feel that this inactivity will be an opportunity for Jamaican football to get on the right track, especially considering that we are in a World Cup cycle?
Absolutely. It's an opportunity to clean house, remodel, and focus and come again. And, you know, let things go, man. I mean, I've had a war with JFF for years trying to say the same things I'm saying now. Well, you know, and there's a saying, if you keep doing something the same way and don't, you can't keep doing things the same way and expecting different results. And the reality is the JFF has been doing the same things the same way and has been getting the same results. Try something else. Try development. Try sending your coaches away on practicums. Yeah, like I did. I spent 6 months in Ajax, 2 years in Genk, 6 weeks at Bayern Munich, at Trenton a year as a technical trainer there, Malta a year. I mean, I spent a lot of time learning, you know. And what I thought I knew everything about football. You know? It's when I got to Europe, I realized I never know 2%. And I still don't know more than about 50%. And I've been 11 years of learning. Because every time I take Leon to a training or Kyle to a training, I'm learning from them, you know? So we can do that. And I think that with the young talents that we have, there's so many young talents out there, not just in Phoenix, but across the island that need proper structured development. And with the talents that we currently have at the senior level, as Leon says, we can go to a World Cup. Leon said we can go. I say we have a chance to challenge for it. You know, what is Shamar Nicholson doing at his club? Is he not scoring goals?
Yes.
Is he not performing? Is he not playing against Belgians and French and Italians and Brazilians and Nigerians that coming from the top of their countries to get these opportunities? And he's still doing well.
Exactly. And also, I just, in terms of that, because you talked about Shamar Nicholson and his improvement, and he has had a very good season this year. It just want to hit back in terms of to the development. 3 things specifically that the Jamaica Football Federation needs to do. You talked about the youth program specifically, but what other things specifically that need to be addressed?
Professionalize the football. First thing, Rene Simoes came here and he treated the players like professionals. Treat them with respect. That's the first thing. Treat them like they're stars. Yeah? I always say, treat a man as he is and he shall remain that way. Treat him as he could become and he will aspire towards it. Yeah? That's one thing with a Phoenix kid. When you see a Phoenix kid walking in chest held high, confident, he believes in himself because I believe in him. Yeah? That's one. First thing. The training programs, yeah, is very important. And the education of the coaches. You cannot have a coach training, wanting to deal with professional footballers who have actually never truly spent any time in a Premier League team. I'm not talking about if you play in a 2nd division team in England or a 3rd division team or you're on the bench for most of your life. I'm talking about a player. Yeah? You can't tell me how it is if you haven't been there, you know? And the third thing is to open up the administration to other people with ideas and stop closing it up. There are people in the football world that are Jamaican. Do you know that Chelsea's chief scout is a Jamaican that played in England at the highest level? And do you know that he offered his services to the JFF and the JFF turned their back on him and said, absolutely not? This is people who recruit Kevin De Bruyne and them people. You know. There are people out there who are willing to help. Yeah? I don't do it because I don't say I want to be involved in the national program because of the money or because of the fame or because I want people to know me or to show off or whatever. I already have that. I want to see my country and my countrymen do well in a World Cup. And when they do well in a World Cup, what will it do? You ever realize the things that can happen? Can you imagine if you had 23 to 30 Leon Baileys making money in Europe, sending back to help his family, right? Getting commercial deals, right? What it would do for the economy? What it would do if we had sports tourism going on down here, and clubs who saw the talent of the players that we send up, sending their teams down to play in tournaments we're having? There's so many ideas that are there that only being involved in the national program can actually get it going.
And in terms of that, because you've said previously that you've been in constant confrontation with the JFF previously in the past, and that obviously stems that has stemmed from a lot of other issues that you've addressed. I wanted to try and get a fact from you in terms of your relationship with the JFF now. Has there been any progress? And also, I'm not sure if you, in terms of how things went when you were offered the role of technical advisor for the youth program.
I wasn't offered the role of technical advisor. If I had
you were not offered?
Have taken it. What I was offered was to sit on a committee of the JFF youth committee. Now, I am not a politician. I'm not a boardroom guy. Yeah, I can negotiate well. I do negotiate well, but my place is on a pitch. I develop players. Everything that you see those boys at Phoenix, including Leon, doing, I taught them, and I have videos showing where I taught them how to do it. Yeah, I want to pass on that knowledge that we got from Belgium and Germany and Ajax and PSV. All that knowledge, we need to pass it on to the coaches. We need to pass it on to the national team. We need to pass it on to the players. It's unfair for me to have that much knowledge and not pass it on a national level. When you look at the Phoenix players across the board, Georges won Pepsi. Phoenix played Georges 2 weeks before and beat Georges 10 goals to 1. They're under 13. And they won Pepsi. The best talents all over in every school come from Phoenix. Why should it come from Phoenix? It should be coming from Jamaica. I should be able to give that to all the coaches, to all the players. And the only way to do that is to institute a system of development, a system of play that everyone understands. You hear Leon complaining about 7 different players in each game.
That's actually the next question I wanted to get back in your views, because he has said openly that the one thing that will prevent Jamaica from getting to the World Cup is the JFF, and he had alluded to in terms of different persons coming into the team and disrupting team chemistry. Do you agree with those comments?
Why do they disrupt team chemistry? The reason they disrupt team chemistry is because they have not been developed in the same system. Think about it. Yeah? If you do the research on Belgian football, you'll realize that Belgian football was not doing very well. And they hired someone to develop a system for Belgium, right? And that guy came in. They said, listen, we're going away from we're not going to play any games, no games in Belgium. Do you know that there's no winner of an under 15 or under 16 or under 17 in the entire country of Belgium? They don't keep scores. They don't. Why? Because they want the players to be free to express themselves and develop. Practice the things that the coaches are giving in a non-competitive environment, right? Now, this is not happening in Jamaica. So when you come back to Jamaica after playing for your club, which will happen, Leon plays at Leverkusen, yeah? And they play a modified 4-3-3, right? Another guy plays, Nicholson plays in Shalawa. You don't know what system they play. Maybe Maggie might be in Yoipen, and whatever system they play. It's all different. You only have 7 days on an international break. So when you bring them back, it's like the Tower of Babel. Everybody's speaking a different language.
And it's your field that it's basically rebuilding the foundation again in terms of and doesn't have continuity.
That's right. Not just that, but when the players come, the coach is going to say, okay, he's trying to find a solution. So he put this one in, it don't work. He puts in another one, it don't work. It won't work until you put in a system where when they go away, They will remember what their system was when they came back. And that's what Jamaica needs.
And in terms of just following from that, exactly. And in terms of following from that, obviously, assuming that we, whatever happens in terms of the format for the CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers, the final round, and this is assuming that Jamaica keeps their place by the June deadline. Leon Bailey said that we're good enough to get to a World Cup. You've said we're good enough to win it. But do you feel in terms of with these core group of players and with Theodore Whitmore as the head coach, do you see us getting to Qatar 2020?
One of the biggest and most difficult things I have had as a person is being willing to listen to others and to accept that I don't know everything. Yeah?
Mm.
What I'm calling Tapper back is that he also is unwilling. Yeah? And because he's unwilling, he stopped learning. He stopped growing. Yeah? So if Tapper starts to listen, and if he gets people around him who have expertise, then I'm sure he'll be a good motivator. Yeah? When you look at Bill Clinton's success as a president wasn't because he was entirely smart. It wasn't because he was the greatest. It was because he had people around him that knew what to do. And he would delegate. When you look at the under 23 that went by some time back, not even that Tapper was willing to walk away and allow to go by itself. Dookie was the coach, but if you looked at the games, Tapper was sitting there on the bench. Yeah, and we need to recognize that the fact of it is that allow people and allow the JFF themselves, they need to open up, employ a system, do it quickly, yeah? Have the players, a core team, pick out your core team and build a system around that core team. Bring in 2 players who are doing well in their leagues, wherever. Have a second team that you bring in and train. Yeah? And from that second team, you can move. The problem that you're having is ridiculous. They're not really doing enough. And that's my opinion.
Okay. I want to switch gears for a minute. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that we want to get in, but I wanted to first talk about obviously your son Leon Bailey. He will return to action on Monday. When the Bundesliga opens up, they will travel. Bayer Leverkusen will travel to Werder Bremen. I wanted to get some insight from you. How is he dealing with, returning to the field? Some of the things that he has to adapt to in terms of, training and the health protocols that the league has taken place. And also from your side, do you feel that, he's comfortable with everything that's going on as he prepares to get back into the swing of things?
Well, Leon was prepared tough here before he went, yeah? So he's a tough kid. However, Germany has put in place a lot of strong protocols. They test them every day when they go to training. The fever is tested, everything. Now they've returned to full training, So everybody's training. The masks are off. They're at full training, and he's excited. And I'm excited because with all the other leagues out, the whole world will be watching. Yeah? And so he's prepared for that. Leon, obviously, he should be looking sooner or later to make the next steps. And this is a good platform for him to show what he can do, And also his teammates, Leverkusen is a very, very unique team. Very tight set of individuals. So I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be a very tight race, especially because Leverkusen is in the thick of those European places as well. You've mentioned in terms of, Leon looking to make the next step. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, after this season, there will be 1 more year left on his contract.
Yeah, there will be 2023, but the fact of it is that the length of the contract doesn't mean that much. Because when the time comes to sell a player or the player wants to go or there's an opportunity, most teams don't hold back the players if they might get in the right money.
Do you from your side, obviously, you work, as an agent and manager, and you've been in these discussions. Do you see in terms of a move this summer for him?
It's possible, it's always possible, but we have to see how the rest of the leagues pan out. How this it's very important, the league that's going to be played opening up now in Germany, because if that goes well, then all the others will follow suit, and then you can look at the transfers. But if the people don't know what they're doing, if the leagues are cancelled, the chances of a transfer can be less, But hey,
it's one of the things, obviously, because him moving from Ghent to Leverkusen definitely was a big move, and this probably could be a potential bigger move depending on how everything goes about. But from your side, because from our local league, Vice Chairman Carlos, who said he would be paying close attention to whatever happens in the Bundesliga to try see if they can get to open up their league. What are some reasonable and sensible protocols that they can that the PLCA, the Premier League clubs associations, can use to guide themselves on the path to resumption?
In Jamaica?
Yes.
Or here?
Yeah.
Listen, anywhere, the biggest challenge you face, right? It's not going anywhere. It's not going away. We're going to have to learn to live with it. Yeah? And I think that he should follow the path of the Bundesliga. But the quicker we get started, is the better I think we are. The quicker Jamaica's football restarts, the better we are.
Mm-hmm.
We're opening churches and things like that. We can open the football too. Just have proper practices, training practices in place, and go. Phoenix has been training all along, and we have not had anyone with COVID.
Well, those protocols mean that advanced constant testing as well.
Constant testing. You can buy the thermometer now, the one that you can point at people, and just have it at your training. We have it at ours now, and you cannot lay down and just die as a sport.
Mm-hmm.
You have to adapt. This is not the first time that the world has faced diseases that challenge our society. We have always risen above, and I think that we need to do that again. And the quicker we get up off our tails, the better off it will be.
Mm-hmm. We had one of the persons in our comment just remarked that we shouldn't build a program around trying to qualify for a World Cup. We should build a system to produce good footballers, and then everything will fall into place. Is that a sentiment that you agree?
Yes, but producing good footballers is not good enough. We can produce good footballers. We have to produce footballers that are true to their genetic makeup. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
When Rene Simoes came, he implemented Brazilian football here. We're not Brazilians. When Bora came, he tried a European style. Our style is not long ball. It's not tiki-taki football either. It is quick transition football and consistent pressure. Yeah, high press. Yeah. Mm-hmm. If you were to create that in our national team and go all the way down to prep school, that philosophy, high press, take on defenders, win the ball. When you lose the ball, win it back quickly, play it to the system, overlapping wing backs, holding midfielders that are strong and disciplined, attacking midfielders that continue to send through passes. When you looked at our under-23 game, did you watch that game? The last one?
The under-23 game. Yes, I did catch part. Yes.
Okay. If you look at all the other midfielders prior to Kyle coming on the pitch, They dribbled. They took about 4, 5, 6 touches before they turned and made a short pass back. When Kyle got the ball, his first objective was to get it through to the wingers and to the strikers as quickly as possible. And it created opportunities. If we can adopt that type of process, right, where the attacking mates are sending it through passes instead of dribbling for themselves and letting the wingers do that job, it will take us along a far way towards this.
Okay, Mr. Craig, just I wish that we could have a longer time and a longer session. Which I have to get this in. I want to try get from you in terms of your all national best 11 and coach. Obviously, in terms of it has to fit in terms of a system that would fit the players. I want to just give in terms of your thoughts in terms of if you had to pick a all-time Jamaican best 11. Who are the players that will get on your team?
I mean, in the history?
Yep.
That'll be tough.
All-time best 11, and it has to be in terms of a formation.
To Marico Ventura, well, the formation should be a 4-3-3. That's the first thing, all the time. I would put Nandi as my main target man. Yeah. Walter Boyd would be in that team. Bibi would be in that team. I think Peter Cargill would be in that team. Anthony Corbett would be in that team.
Okay.
Sterling would be in that team. Wing back.
That's Sterling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you including the players that play for other countries who are Jamaican?
It's not. Well, I think the criteria is those who have represented Jamaica. Those who have represented Jamaica at the national level.
Leon would be in that team definitely. I have to. I mean, probably the most successful homegrown talent ever to come out of Jamaica. Yeah.
And that Sterling you mentioned is Anthony Sterling?
No, Richie Sterling, goalkeeper.
Richie Sterling. Okay, Richie Sterling. Okay, good.
I think Dion Wilmot would be in that team. Messi Wilmot. Wingers, strikers. I would include Ali McNabb in his heyday in that team.
All right.
John Barnes don't play for Jamaica. How much you have already?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. About 9. So I think 2 more.
And as a holding midfielder, you ever heard of Andrew Bailey, Federman?
Not familiar.
You never born them time there. Yeah, man, he was a very good. Give me that name again. Andrew Bailey. And of course, Richard Patcover McDonald. I think that was one of our most prolific strikers who never got a chance.
Richard McDonald.
And he'd been brought through the system properly, you'd have done well. But there's so many players, yeah?
Yeah. And a coach who would you choose to lead the side?
Who has coached already?
Yeah, who has coached already?
Well, I'd go back with Rene. I'd go with Rene Simons. Because I think of all of them, he understood our Jamaican culture the most. Of all our national team coaches. And I would have Carl Brown with him as well. Because Carl Brown is a Jamaican. And he was able to also reach the players. And so I don't see any other coaches that would have been able to motivate the players the way Rene did. But we would want to have our 4-3-3 system with the 2 wingers, a target striker, an attacking midfielder, a number 8, and a holding midfielder was his job to protect the back line. Did I have Nandi in that?
I think so. Hold on. Boyd, Lowe, McDonald, Bailey, Cargill, Bibi, Corbett, Wilmot, McNabb, Daly, and Richie Sterling.
And you really can't forget Shelton. Yeah. So yeah, Shelton.
Well, somebody has to come in and come out.
Yeah, well, as much as we love Fedham up, we already have Peter Cargill in that holding midfield position, so he can take out Fedham up and put in Nandi.
Okay. And quickly, I know that we're running out of time, but the one thing I just want to get in terms of the close off, what is the one thing that people have a misconception about you, because you speak so passionately about the game? What is and about what Jamaica can do to go forward? What is the one thing that people have a misconception about you that is not true, that you want them to really understand?
I think they misconstrue confidence and determination to protect your players and love for the country with arrogance and selfishness. You know, I'm not a selfish person. Anyone who knows me can tell you that. And I'm not really arrogant, but they're not going to take crap from people. You know, it's not I can't do that. You know, if I know I'm right and I know I have a whole host of little kids looking to me to protect them and do the right thing, I have to do the right thing, whether people will like me for it or not. If I didn't stand up for Leon Bailey with Vin Blaine's situation when he said Leon Bailey was an ordinary player, Leon Bailey, he himself would believe he's ordinary because I allowed it to happen. I know I wouldn't do that. You know, if I don't stand up for Kyle and say he's a good midfielder and he deserves the opportunity, not because he's my son and he don't like me, then he would not have gotten his 10 minutes to show the whole of the country that he is a good player. You know? And that's just my 2 cents. You know, people don't know. And I have a lot of love for my country and for my family and for football. And that's all. If I can share that before I die and see Jamaica make it to a World Cup, I'd be happy. You know, I'd be happy.
I think that's the goal for every Jamaican here that wants to see the team succeed. Craig, thank you very much. It's been really a pleasure to get with you to hear your views. First and foremost, please stay safe, and thanks again.
No problem. Respect. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you very much. And thank you. Activity in the chat. Feel free to ask questions. Stay close to the space. There will be a weekly series on this. Thank you very much and take care.